Hey everyone, woo! Welcome to the Preacher After Show. Oh, we are here at the Stream.tv. I am so excited for this show. I can't even tell you. I'm Jocelyn Polite, and I am joined by my wonderful, sexy, well, actually, I shouldn't say sexy because they're being really good. You'll see in a second. Yes. But my co-host over here to my right.
I'm Kiyra Lynn, everyone. Hi, everyone. I cannot, the show. Can't wait.
I know. And then over here to my left, my trusty left.
Hey, everybody. I'm Timothy Michael. Yes, the show. The show is giving me gore. It's giving me just everything. I'm living for this show right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have been waiting for this for a while because we heard it was coming on AMC, and we've just been super excited about it. We've got a hashtag going, hashtag PreacherAS. We want you to tweet us and let us know what you're thinking, because we know that you have a lot of thoughts. We had an hour and a half of this show last night, and so we know that you have a lot of thoughts. Put them out there and we can read them. Kiyra is on the chat, so she's on YouTube's chat if you want to hop on the show and let us know what you're thinking. And then also, Tim is on Twitter, so you can let him know what you're thinking as well. So we can keep it interactive and keep it going. And we're going to dive in because we know that there is so much with this show. All right, so out of space, Africa and Russia. Like, all of that was intertwined tonight, and it was a lot. So let's just, we started in Africa with the preacher, and he was preaching, and he, you know, he had his little congregation going.
In a little
and everything.
shack of a chapel.
Right, exactly, you know, but God is everywhere. And so, and then all of a sudden, boom, it just...
This essence. I guess
what is it, like an entity
or a being?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like an entity. It looked like it full on like shot into him, and he for a second he found Jesus, and then
and called himself the prophet.
Exactly. And then next thing you know, he was all over the congregation.
He did. He exploded, and so all over him.
And I just have to say, I love the fact we're less than like 5 minutes into the show, and bam, it just gets right in your face right at that moment.
But that's what I'm talking about, because that's what I love in a show, and that's what gets me excited, is that whole, like, when you just start off and you get my attention automatically. I'm like, there's a preacher exploding in a church. You have my attention.
Oh, yeah,
like,
completely.
full on. And so, so Africa, again, you know, we are always, everything starts in Africa. In Africa, we always, everything starts in Africa, but that's okay, we'll take it. And then we also had the same thing happen in Russia. So when they went to Russia, the same thing happened because they were speaking, I think they were speaking Russian, and they were saying that the preacher just exploded and there were brains everywhere and all that kind of stuff. So the same thing is happening there.
Oh my gosh.
So around the world.
But you know what I found? Yes, but you know what I found interesting about this is that it went from the church in Africa to the church in Russia, which I did some research because there was a symbol on the door of Russia.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, is that a church? And then I found out it was the church of Satan. So I was like, not only are they targeting like Catholic or Christian churches, they're targeting like Christianity churches, which brings us to the bar scene when that whole thing on the television about Tom Cruise, who's presiding over a Scientology meeting, and he exploded. So I was like, I thought that was interesting because this essence or being, if that's what we're going to call it, isn't just targeting Christianity. It's targeting everything. It's searching for something.
Right. So it's in, it's in Scientology. That's major. And then it was Tom Cruise, and when I saw that, it was just so funny. But that was the great thing too, that I'm just like pointing out all the amazing things about this show, was that there was humor. You know what I mean? There was humor attached to it, because when I saw Tom Cruise, that whole little thing about Tom Cruise just exploded. I was like, what? So yeah, there was that, which was really good. But I love that you looked that up, because Tim is our lookup. He looks up everything and researches everything and makes sure that we know. But we've got a heaven and hell thing going here. Something is happening here on Earth, obviously, in the different corners of Earth. And I don't know if we're quite sure yet, you know, is it God knocking on the door? Is it is it the fallen angel that's coming back? And then is there going to be a big wrath on Earth? So this is what is really interesting.
Now, are we gonna talk about that? We have read the comics, but
yeah, I mean, we have, but I think we can have a quick discussion on that, because I'm of the opinion that there's a couple of shows where I never did read the comic, and then I enjoyed the show, and then a lot of people that did read the comic kind of ruined it for me, because you know, they were telling me, well, there wasn't this person, and this happened, and this happened, and it just really bothered me in the end, because I really wanted to go through the ride. And so, yeah, I've read the comic on this, but they're also going in a different direction, as they oftentimes do. So.
But because we know how smart our viewers are, I just wanted to make sure that we did put that out there, that we have done our research. We have read the comics, so we do technically know what we're talking about.
Yes, and let's preface this with, the comics are a good guideline to this show, but this obviously this first episode had really nothing to do with the comics. Like, we know the characters, we know the backstories a little bit behind them, we know what might happen to them in the future because we've read the comics, but in this context, like, it has nothing to do with the comics. But we have read them, you guys, so don't try to blast us for not trying to read the comics.
Okay, so we're qualified. Okay, so then we also had these two cowboys, which were so not cowboys, but they ended up in Annville, Texas, and they're looking for Jesse, and they're looking for whatever is here that is going to put two and two together and figure out whatever's going on.
Well, see, I don't think they're looking for Jesse. I think they're looking for that being that they're searching for. Because because they went to Africa first, then we saw them in Russia,
right.
you know, and now they're in front of Jesse's church at obviously the end of the episode. But they're looking for this essence or being.
So they're not quite sure that it is Jesse, but they know that that Genesis is here and somewhere in
So
Genesis.
we just know in the context that they're looking for something. We're not necessarily sure at this point whether or not it is Jesse.
Well, Jocelyn just dropped the G word, so.
Sorry, I mean, okay.
I mean, we could know. I mean,
But
if
yeah,
you,
I mean, that's just you.
I mean, obviously, if you read the comic books, you obviously know that this essence or being is probably Genesis.
Yeah.
The formation of a child between a angel and a demon.
Right, exactly.
That's just some context for you guys at home.
And that's all we're going to say about
That's all we're gonna say.
for right now, and then we'll move on. But so we had that, and we ended up with that in Texas. But let's just go straight into Jesse Custer, who Kiyra is in love with.
Oh my gosh. If he was actually the preacher in my church, ooh, I would be going to hell. Dominic Cooper.
No, you would be going to church every Sunday.
She would be going to church every Sunday. She'd be
I
looking
know.
just like that too.
But I felt really bad for Jesse because I felt really bad for Jesse because they kept messing with his marquee.
Yes.
You didn't say
What do you
dirty
mean?
things on his
Oh,
marquee.
yeah.
But he should have had it up higher. But so he has his little church, and it's his little church. I mean, it is like a church full of like rednecks. You know what I mean? And they're all in there, and the little guitar player, you know, that sets it off in the beginning and everything. And you know, he's preaching to about what, 12, 15 people?
15
That are half
people.
asleep.
That are half asleep. Yeah, exactly. So that was our introduction to Jesse. What do you think is going to, not even going to happen to Jesse, but who do you think he really is?
You know what? I like the actor, as Kiyra said. I really think that he's handling this role really well. Carrying a show is obviously, we know, is very hard. And he's doing it really well. I like what they're doing by creating depth with his character. Him being a preacher, but not in the faith as much as a regular preacher would. He's a little bit of an alcoholic, as we saw when he woke up in his I guess his room in the church. And I just want to kind of call out a little detail that I saw in there. You guys probably caught it as well. The liquor bottle had rat water on it, which I thought was super cool, because rat water, if you read the comics, it's like a town in the prequel. That's all I'm saying. Read the comics, you guys. So that just kind of points to the fact that he's a little bit of an alcoholic.
Absolutely.
And he's definitely flawed.
Yeah,
And
also,
that's what makes him such a great character.
Yeah.
He is flawed, and he's going through the struggle of
And you
his
see
faith.
him go through this struggle throughout the episode of him just, you know, does he really believe in his faith? You know, he's tired of that annoying guy with the glasses. I don't think Ted. Oh my God! And basically the want, like all the time, calling him on the phone. It like he's just living like a dreadful sort of life as a preacher. He's not really fulfilling what a preacher is really known for.
What he really wanted to do, but he came back to Annville really against his own will. He really didn't want to come back there, but he's fulfilling that promise or those words that his father said to him.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up, is that they keep doing these flashbacks to his father, who is in the collar, so we could obviously gain that his father was a pastor, and he says to other characters, we'll talk about them later, that he came back to kind of fill his father's shoes, which is interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting, because there's a lot going on with the whole father thing and how his father, you know, what happened to his father, but we'll leave that right there.
Are we going to talk about how badass, that Jesse turns out to be? Like, he's so conflicted.
Yeah, he's like I was saying, that the thing that makes this so amazing is that he is a preacher, you know, which holds a certain, you know, standard, as you well saw, even with the little boy that was asking him to hurt his father because his father was beating his mother, and there was a thing within Jesse that was just kind of like he wanted to help. It's not that I didn't feel like he wanted to help, but it's almost like with anything in life. Like I think about when you really don't believe in what you're doing, it just makes it so hard to do it. And so I think for him, it was like, I know I'm supposed to help this boy and help this woman if she's being beaten, but at the same time, like, I'm having my questions about God and faith and whether I'm still supposed to be in this.
But let's also talk about the rumors that are going around the town early in the episode of like, we know that necessarily, like, you weren't always a preacher. You weren't always supposed to be this man of the faith. We know that you have some sort of backstory, and then it quickly unfolds as the episode continues. So.
Well, he was hit with, I mean, we're going to fast forward a little bit. He was hit with the same thing that all the preachers, you know, in Russia and Africa and everyone else was hit with. And so he was hit with the power of influence, you know, which is a great power to have, because if you're really thinking about it, the power of influence is God.
He's like a superhero.
I know, exactly.
Well, he's the one that didn't explode.
Exactly. So he's actually like the true prophet, you know what I mean, in that way. And so he had the power of, and he doesn't know how to use it because he told the man what I can't even remember the exact words, to be truthful.
To be honest and show and open his heart.
Open your heart, right. And so he opened his heart in front of his mother, telling her that he liked Swiss cheese, but he opened his heart.
And he literally opened his heart.
Right, exactly, and so it's literal. So his influence over people can have that type of power where they can take exactly what he says literally and then go and
But can we roll it back a little bit to how he gets confronted by the father? You know, when Jesse steps in and talks to that little boy's mother, trying to intervene, thinking that she's a victim of domestic violence, and then the father comes into the bar and basically says, you know, don't you dare talk to my wife, you know, and then starts to beat up on him. And that's when you see Jesse turn. Well, that is when you start to see, you know, the other side that, you know, that what everybody in the town is talking about. Like, he full on just whips the guy's butt.
Yeah.
And
Amazing scene, but I do want to kind of roll it back to what you had said, Kiyra. It was when he was talking to this woman, Betsy, we know her name, about Donnie beating her. And she said, I like it. Do we actually believe that because for a second I was like, oh, maybe she does like it. Maybe this is just one of those little situations where
I think she liked it. I think she liked getting
Do you think that she liked
him.
it, or do you think that she was so, like, it was like a mental abuse on her part where she was like
I think she liked
taught to like it.
Like the way that she was like, I like it. Like,
I think she did too, and I think that was part of some of the stuff that's going on.
I don't know. I think that no, because after he had said, "Oh well, do you want to go and talk to the sheriff about it?" Then I feel like her whole story changed. Was yeah, he hurts me all the time, blah blah blah. And then he's like, "Okay, well, let's go talk to the sheriff about it." She was like, "No, you don't understand. I like it." It was like something like an excuse, like, "Oh, I don't want to talk to him because of this."
Well, you tell us what you think, because obviously we on the couch have a couple of different opinions. So either hop on the chat, or tweet us. Let us know exactly what you think about Betsy and herself.
I just want to say that, you know, we do have East Blue Drew on the chat, and Drexel and Zello Police. So hi guys.
Hey guys.
Come talk to us. Keep chatting.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to Tulip, who fast became my favorite. I like Tulip.
Yes.
Well, not my favorite. I have a favorite, but Tulip.
You have a favorite too?
I have a favorite.
We'll talk about a favorite.
But Tulip was like a little badass. I mean, that first of all, this show has some great fight scenes. They really do. Everything from
cinematography.
Yeah,
you know, I was gonna say the cinematography reminds me a little bit of a Quentin Tarantino kind of feel
we were actually
with the gore, right? Was I the only one?
I was comparing it to Pulp Fiction in a way.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, that's right. Maybe I got that idea because you said Pulp Fiction.
No, you didn't. You had the idea. But I believe that. I like the fight scenes. I thought that one in the car, I mean, totally unrealistic in a lot of ways, but at the same time, like going through the fields in Kansas and they're like fighting and they're like, you know, duking it out, and then she just like kind of arrives and shows up, takes him out, and then she's in front of the kids like, you like arts and crafts? Like, it was really,
let's make a bazooka, everyone.
Hide in the shed. Look at the flowers. No, I'm just kidding. But it was that type of thing with her. She was an interesting character, and I know that we're going to have a whole lot more with her, but it's interesting too because she looks very different too from the
comics.
Yeah,
but does. I do love the fact, and you know what? In the comic books, Tulip got a little bit on my nerves in the comics. She was a little needy, and she just wouldn't let that bone go of why Jesse left her.
Right.
But in this show, they have turned Tulip's character, and we know her full name is Priscilla Jean Henrietta O'Hare, but her friends call her Tulip. They made her this strong, multi-ethnic woman,
Right.
and I'm loving it.
Yeah,
I
I do
love
too.
that we can be in this kind of like
And she's-
era, and like, and I hope nobody out there is gonna be like, well, she's supposed to be blonde and white. Like, let's
let's
let that
see her
go,
for who
guys.
she is.
Like,
It's-
let's let that go.
And then I love that we're going to get into their relationship, because we started a little bit when they were in the car, you know, her and Jesse, and like what has gone down with them, and what's happening with them, because there's tension and sexiness
And there's
stuff.
definitely obvious. There's definite tension that they're bringing forward from the past.
Absolutely.
That she's just still trying to like bring him in.
Well, let's talk about that really quick, because
Okay.
when they were in the car, they had this whole conversation about, okay, well, I have a job. And that's what she was fighting in the car scene for this map that these two guys were attacking her for. And then she gets to Jesse, and they're in this conversation, in the car, having this conversation about a job. And he's like, well, I'm done with doing jobs. So do we think that Tulip is a hitman, hit woman, and Jesse used to be one?
No, I don't know if Jesse used to be one. I'm not sure. I think they probably were in a life together where they did some like stealing and manipulating. I don't know if he was an actual hitman, but I think they were in some mess. I'll say I'm in some shit together.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and I think that like she stayed in it, you know, and so that's kind of where they are.
Because she's got some skills to build a
Yes, she
bazooka
does.
out of cans and like
It's
army
crazy.
figures is like
So
kind of
awesome.
ridiculous.
I love that scene where like, you know, you saw that it was everything had already exploded, and that guy's head with the little action
Oh,
figures.
yeah.
In front. I would love that.
Well, I look forward, and I know we look forward to so much more from her. But my favorite character.
Who's your favorite character?
Cassidy.
Me
Yes.
too.
I love Cassidy. I thought that the fight scene on the
Airplane?
on the airplane was amazing. I loved it, and like the whole like bottle going into him, and then he drank out of him. That was so good.
Done.
But
Did you
I
guys
like
remember the golf club, and he's like hitting things at him off the table? I was like, this is pure Cassidy. So
No, it
funny.
was totally Cassidy, and then all of a sudden he dives off the plane. He's great, and then he eats a cow. We love Cassidy.
Cassidy
I
was
can't wait to
awesome.
see more from him. He already went to jail and everything, and like
But
Cassidy
my question
is
is, okay, the sheriff did take him to jail from the bar scene, but why did he go to jail? Like, he was like, you and your
Oh,
friend.
yeah.
drunk and disorderly conduct.
I
Is that-
guess.
okay.
I
He
was.
thought, what did I do?
But is there such a thing in Texas?
Right. You know what? Let's get a little deep with Cassidy really quick, because I was a little confused. Probably like most of our viewers, when they showed him and he was in this like dealer, like blackjack dealer outfit, and it said Babylonian Hotel on his name tag, and then he has this fight scene, and then he goes to the pilot, how did you wankers find me? So what I gathered from all of that was he was hiding out in Vegas, and then this group of people are trying to find him, and they lured him on this private jet with hopes of him taking them to Tijuana and having a great time. And then he realizes they're not going to Tijuana,
Because he
they're going
finds the-
someplace else.
Because he finds the Bible.
Right. And then he realizes
He
that
realizes
they're
they're headed towards
crazy.
the sun- right.
And then they're going somewhere else. And then he breaks out this fight. So there's a lot going on with Cassidy
Yeah.
that we don't know yet, which I'm really interested, because he is my favorite character.
Right, and his backstory is interesting and everything. I mean, because he's he's a vampire. He's like sucking people's blood and biting their necks and everything like that. So we know that like how he became a vampire and all that kind of stuff is, I'm sure, going to come. You know what I mean, with time. And so I
Well,
can't wait to flesh him out.
Let's
I can't
talk
wait.
about that really quick, because he's not in an essentially normal or what we know as a vampire.
Right.
He obviously he can't go into the sun,
No.
but he can go into a church.
Right.
That guy, I guess, poured holy water on him or something. Didn't work. And that didn't work
At all.
So they're kind of finagling, and he doesn't have fangs. He just bites them with his regular teeth. So it's interesting on what kind of spin they're putting on vampires
Yeah,
right now.
they must be making up their own rules.
Yeah. I mean, it's a different
Which
kind of
I'm
vampire.
fine. I'm totally fine with it. I like it.
Yeah.
It seems realistic. I feel like if this was a vampire in today's society, that's what it would be like.
Yeah, and I think with shows like this, I mean, you have to evolve them. You know what I mean? Along, you can't have the same vampire. You know, we can't all have Dracula. We're over Dracula. We're
But
like into him.
what I did like about the casting of this actor in the Cassidy character, he actually does remind me of Cassidy from the comics.
Yes,
So
agreed.
if there was a really good similarity, this is the one.
He's
Agreed.
just like him. Yeah, I
Yes.
think that
Agreed.
they hit it on the head with this one.
So I'm glad they didn't mess around with that too much.
No,
Yes.
they didn't. But we also had some really great characters that I enjoy seeing. Ass face,
I knew you were gonna
horse
say
face, butthole face. I want to keep going. Can I keep going?
Yeah.
But I mean, first of all, his makeup is amazing.
Oh
Yes.
my god.
Because it really does look like a
So
butthole.
good.
But he, but
Come on, do it.
do it. But I mean, it's just so interesting. He's like such. I couldn't wait to see him either, because I was like, how? And I'm so glad, because I was scared for a minute, because I was like, are we gonna get like? Can't understand him. I was like, are we? Yes. I'm like, words. Yes. 'Cause-
But you know what though? I was actually really surprised, and it's not to compare again, but I was really surprised that he's kind of like he's a little bit more timid in the show than I was expecting.
Right.
Because, but it was nice.
And I love just the touch of character development that they're going to do with him. With him used to go to church, and then his conversation with Jesse about how he used to talk to God and he used to hear him talking back, but then ever since the incident, which I'm not going to blow it up for you guys because they might change it. He doesn't really hear God anymore, and there was this whole battle between his faith, and then we see in the end, when Jesse's about to quit, and he sees, I feel like Eugene is his real name, not Assface Jocelyn.
I'm just letting you guys know, warning, I'm calling him Assface the entire season.
It's like, one of her characters. But he sees him in the congregation, and I feel like he changes his mind because this person looks to him for wisdom.
Well, I think also, when you've reached, to me, you're losing your faith is rock bottom. Losing your faith is really a rock bottom moment, because if you believe, think about all the years and all the experiences that it takes to believe in something, and then all of a sudden, to not believe that anybody, or that, that this entity, this being or whatever it is for you is not presiding over you and not watching over you, and yet you're out here just kind of doing it on your own. That's a big place to go. And so to talk to a preacher about it, and that preacher is going through the same struggle.
Exactly.
That's scary.
That whole conversation that Jesse has before the entity hits him, is essentially the same conversation that he was having with Eugene to God. So very interesting.
Well, another one of my favorites, just really quick before we go to break, is Root. Sheriff Root.
Sheriff Root.
I just not because he's a good person. He is an awful, awful person. But I'm just saying, for some reason, those nasty little what is it, tobacco chewing, just something about him. He's just he's such a sheriff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? He's just...
He again, hate to compare it to the comic, but I think they nailed that. I think they nailed him on the head.
He's a pretty good one. All right, well, we're going to talk about some predictions and some things that we might think may happen, I don't know, over the season. And we're also going to look on the chat, take some questions from you, and we'll be right back. But first, we're going to go to a break. See you in a minute.
See you guys soon.
Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Just in case you missed it live.
In case you missed it live.
In case you missed it live.
Oh my God. Figure that out.
High five.
Boom! Just they did what to me? We had a crazy vampire threesome.
And you can't unsee that. That's burned into my brain now.
I was like,
you know why we saying yes. You know why we saying yes.
What do you mean? I'm dancing.
he was like, yeah, I'll tell you whatever you want.
He is quite something.
And we're like, inseparable.
These hoes ain't loyal.
You just went to a totally different direction on that one.
I love it. That's genius.
Billionaire goes broke, it means he's got like $4 million.
This might actually be a thing.
Somebody better take some pictures here.
Are we there yet? Can we talk about that?
We've been waiting all night.
I don't know.
I don't like to break nails.
You can't count anything out.
Did you?
It's been another awesome night at the stream.tv, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining us, you guys.
Okay, good. Hey guys, welcome back. Remember to hit subscribe and to follow the stream.tv for all your favorite after shows, because all of them are right here.
Right here.
We're going to go over to the chat. We're going to take some comments, maybe some questions, see what you guys are thinking out there. And so we're going to kick it to the lovely Kiyra.
Well, our friend Zello Police, he's always following us. We love you. Thank you very much. He says, I don't get how Cassidy fits in this here plot. Maybe y'all can analyze this in the show. I think Zello Police is from Texas. So.
Ah, okay.
Oh.
All right.
Yes.
Well, I can give my little, I don't know if it's a full 2 cents, but I think that I don't know exactly how he fits in. Let me just, I'll say that. I don't know exactly how he fits in, but I think that between Tulip, Cassidy, and Jesse, all three of them are extremely conflicted, and all three of them have their own sense of some kind of power, some kind of, something that they're battling with and something that they know how to do. I just think that they make up a good trio of where the series is going. So I think there is a purpose for him for sure.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I feel like, and we saw it in the jail cell with Jesse and Cassidy, just kind of becoming friends and having that kind of bond. I don't think Jesse has that a lot, and I think that Cassidy's gonna fit into his friend, like, this is my bro, like, I have your back no matter what kind of role.
Well,
And
then-
everybody needs that.
Well, and then, Jesse wakes up, he wakes up, he finds out that he only has a few hours before church starts, and then he's told that Cassidy is living up in the attic room.
Fixing the air conditioning.
Fixing the air conditioning that he couldn't afford. So
Yeah.
obviously, he's already becoming his friend. And I liked at the very end, after Jesse basically declares that he's going to stay a preacher, how all of a sudden, Cassidy just comes out of the pew and just sits out of nowhere and says, "Hi."
I feel like
With his
Cassidy
bottle.
did that when he heard the girl on the electric guitar doing it. He was like, "What the hell
Like, what the hell is going on in here?" Exactly. Well, yeah. So I think he has a purpose, and we're going to see a lot of him. He better not go anywhere like
No,
him.
not at all.
Yeah.
And then I think that, we just want to, again, just shout out the guys. Again, we've got Drexel on the YouTube chat.
Hey,
Hi.
Drexel.
East Blue Drew and Zello Police. You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining
and
us in the chat.
East Blue Jew had a kind of interesting comment. He said that he wishes the show was on HBO so that they can kind of go there. And a lot of people said that about other after shows on the stream about The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead, because when you're based off of a comic, it is a graphic novel. It's graphic for a reason.
Right.
Nudity, language, all of this stuff that AMC really can't go to that space with because of legal things. Right. But I feel like AMC did a really good job with the fight scenes and the
production value.
And the production
I
value.
think so,
yeah,
too.
I wasn't mad at it.
Me either, and I felt like it felt naughty enough for me. I mean, I know what you mean, because watching HBO, you definitely, if you've seen True Blood or Game of Thrones, any of those, you know that you're definitely in the naughty zone. But I felt like I was watching something very provocative.
Yeah. But, from what research that I did, this comic book series had been thrown around in development for a long time.
Well, let's keep in mind this comic is 20 years old. It was originated in 1995.
So I want to say it was punted to Kevin Smith, and it was punted to somebody else, and for a movie franchise, and they just couldn't get it together. And then finally AMC, which I think, of course it's stepping it up a level because it is cable. It's not like an it's not like an ABC or NBC or a CBS where they virtually couldn't do half the stuff.
No, you're right.
And yeah, I wasn't mad at it. I liked it.
Okay. Well, do we have any shout outs?
We do have some shout outs from Twitter. At Tracy003, thanks for tuning in so early and being with us. Hopefully you stick through. And we love this guy, preacher_on_AMC.
Yay!
He's been a real fan of ours so far. We're a fan of yours. Thanks for tuning in. And then one of the actors from the show, the little boy in the barbecue scene, his name is Thomas Barbuska. He actually reached out to us, and he's been liking some of our stuff, and we really appreciate his support.
Thank you.
And hopefully we see more of him, because he had a little bit of a small role, but hopefully we'll see more.
He's a good actor, and he had a
He's a great actor, yeah.
role. I hope we can see some more of him. Wow. All right. Well, tonight we were on Monday because we had a couple of conflicts last night. But next week, actually, it'll be 2 weeks from now because they're going to have an encore next week. So on June 5th, we'll be back on Sunday at the regular time. So we'll follow Preacher, the actual show. And so we'll be here for you right here at thestream.tv. So make sure that you subscribe and you follow us and talk to us over the next week or so. And we would love to hear the conversation.
Yes.
And until then, we will see you next week, and we want you to be good. Let the church say, Amen.
Bye, guys.
Love you guys.